Let me name all the fights down, and then I'm gonna get to my point. All right. For if you're not watching this live, you might be just listening. So I'm gonna run the fights down that's in the chat so we all can be on the same page because I want to lay a foundation to my point and what you all came here for. Now, I mentioned first, right? James Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson. That was my first fight. My second fight, if y'all recall, was Evander the Real Deal Holyfield against Riddick Big Daddy Bo, the first fight that took place in November of 1992. Now, we got the fights that you all said in the chat. Thank you for your support. Mike Tyson versus Frank Bruno, Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman, Floyd Mayweather versus Arturo Gotti, RIP to Gotti, Muhammad Ali versus Sonny Liston, Roy Jones Jr. versus James Toney. As I mentioned already, Holyfield versus Douglas. We have Tommy Hitman Hearns against the Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran. We have Roy Jones versus Antonio Tarver. We have Floyd Mayweather versus Diego Corrales, RIP to Corrales. We have Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson. We have Roy Jones versus Griffin, fight number 2. We had, oh, somebody said they had 3 fights. Yep, I got you. Mike Tyson versus Spence. We know he knocked him out cold first round. We have Sugar Shane Mosley versus Vernon Forrest. We have Diego Corrales versus Castillo. We got Lennox Lewis versus Holyfield. We got Vernon Forrest versus Mayorga. First fight, we have Oscar De La Hoya versus Tito Trinidad. We got Tito Trinidad versus Fernando Vargas. We have, I said, Holyfield versus Bo. We got Zab Judah versus Costa Zoo. We got Roy Jones versus Tony. We got Ali versus Frazier. Woo! And we have Leonard versus Hagler. And is that all? All right. Aaron Pryor versus Alexis Arguello. That was good. Woo! Some of y'all don't even know about this fight that's on your screen. Salute Ryan Harris. That was a good one. That's one of the most brutal fights I've ever seen. Marvelous Marvin Hagler against John the Beast Mugabe. Oh my gosh. Whew. Man, oh man. All right, who else we got? Was that it? Was that it? Oh, we got Sugar Ray Leonard. Oh, that was a good one. That's one of my points I was going to bring up. Sugar Ray Leonard versus Tommy the Hitman Hearns, 1. We got Pacquiao versus Marquez, 4. I think that was when Marquez knocked Pacquiao clean out. We got, oh, good classic. Bradley versus Provodnikov. Ooh, what a classic. With another classic, we got Hagler versus Leonard. Then we got another classic. I'll save this one for last because that's the last one on the screen. And that's Eric Morales against Marcos Antonio Barrera. The first fight. Oh my gosh, that was good too. Frankie Randall against Chavez. All right, so you all get the point. Now, what do all of these fights have in common? They're all classics. So that's one thing that they have in common. They're all classics. All classics. And there was a definitive decision at the end of it. So those are 2 things they have in common. All right. There's something else that they have in common. Let's talk about it tonight. Now, back to my point. All of those classic fights that we named in the chat and the 3 fights that I just named right now, all of the winners of those fights, they were filled with emotion. They did something to let you know not only were they relieved from the sacrifices that they made in weeks and weeks and weeks and months of training camp, but they also expressed themselves, showing the audience live and even watching on television or even listening on the radio Dag, I won. I won this fight. Whew. Hard work paid off. Well, in this classic fight between Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Bud Crawford, one of the things that I did not say publicly, and I just mentioned it in an interview that you might see later on when Boxing Outlet posted, and I'm going to say it right here on my channel in front of all of my beautiful audience members and the Roller Tape Film crew members that are here live and those that are going to watch the replay of this live as the viewership is increasing exponentially. One of the things that shocked me at the fight, and I was there live, and the people that's watching me live in living color, whether they in the chat or not, they know I said this right after the fight went off. Salute to you, Joseph Swab. Thank you for your support and contribution to the channel. They know I said this, that I was trying to understand why I didn't feel the excitement through Terence Bud Crawford. Let me tell you what Joseph Swab said. Swab said, Crawford knew the focus would be on how. Now the media that he said was all about Spence ain't saying nothing about snack-aroids. Those were the words of Joseph Swab. And I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, Joe. And if I'm not, I apologize to you. I didn't feel the excitement. I didn't see the excitement. And I'm not talking about when Terence Crawford danced with his mother after the fight. I'm not talking about that. Because to my understanding, it was his mother's birthday. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about as soon as the fight was over. Terence Bud Crawford did go on he jumped on the ropes. And I think he was talking to Charlo or saying something to somebody. But I'm talking about the excitement. I'm talking about natural reactions. And I'm not saying that all fighters have to respond and or react the same way. The Cash App, thank you, Asante L. The Cash App is Manager Marty. That's the Cash App. If anybody want to support the Cash App. I'm on live directly, so that's why you probably don't see it running across your screen right now. Okay? I didn't see the excitement. And that's something that I wanted to see. Because it's a natural reaction. I mean, think about it. Terence Bud Crawford has not only just made history by being the first male undefeated and undisputed welterweight champion of the world in the 4-belt era in the sport of boxing, but he did it in such dominating fashion that should have intensified his excitement. Now, if he would have won on the scorecards and it was close, yeah, I can see him being excited, but at the same time, it's like, dang, I wish I would have had a more definitive win without any controversy. You know, sort of like Sugar Ray Leonard, how he responded after he fought Hagler. Y'all remember how he responded? So the excitement of Terence Crawford, in my personal humble opinion, should have intensified by the way that he dominated and won the fight by making history, and then also initially because he made history. And I did not see that excitement. The natural reaction that fighters usually show when they don't even make history in this sport. I'll give you another fight. Remember when Julian J. Rock Williams went to the DMV area, the hometown of Jarrett Hurd, and he won, decisively won, definitively won. The man went on both his knees and he cried his eyes out. Oh, yes, he did. That's a natural reaction. And this is why Floyd Mayweather shouldn't be criticized for crying after he beat Ricky Hatton. This is why when J-Rock Julian Williams won against Jarrett Hurd, he shouldn't be criticized, right? When he cried, right? He was showing human emotion. He was showing a natural reaction to when you win a fight, especially when you're being counted out. And we know that on YouTube, there were content creators, including me. There were fans of the sport of boxing, including some of you in the chat, that said Terence Crawford would lose this fight to Errol Spence Jr. That's all I'm saying. And that's one of the things that I found alarming and startling to me. He never showed a natural reaction of a boxer. And somebody said that was Gotti and not Hatton. I can assure you that that was Ricky Hatton. But I also know that Floyd Mayweather responded in similar fashion when he dominated Gotti in Gotti's hometown of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Okay? And let me just make sure now, because I know my boxing, but I could be wrong. Let me make sure, because I believe that was also Ricky Hatton. Okay, somebody, thank you, Remy. I ain't even have to pull it up. Thank you, Remy. I know my boxing now. Thank you. He cried after Gotti and he cried after Ricky Hatton. Because I seen both fights live. I seen them live. Remember when Kelly Pavlik, remember him? Remember when Kelly Pavlik knocked out, what's my guy name? Jermaine Teller in the 7th round? Y'all remember that fight? Remember after Jermaine Teller knocked him down and had him on spaghetti legs in the 2nd round? Y'all remember that? He took all of the belts. He made history that night as well. But he took all of Taylor's belts that night. I remember that fight. And you seen how he reacted. These are just natural reactions. Bernard Hopkins. Remember, even though it did look suspect when I first seen it, the first 45 times I seen it, when he landed that body shot on De La Hoya. Not saying it's real or fake. I'm just telling you what my observation 20-something years ago. All right. You see how Bernard Hopkins reacted when Oscar De La Hoya didn't get it back up? Okay. Y'all saw how Bernard Hopkins reacted when he beat Tito Trinidad. Remember, he dropped him in the 12th round. You remember that? Okay. Y'all remember how Jermaine Taylor reacted when he took all of Bernard Hopkins' belts? Y'all remember that? You see, when history is made, these guys get excited. Riddick Bowe, excited after he beat Evander Holyfield in that first fight. My God. And so that's why, as history shown us time and time again in this sport, how fighters usually react and respond when they win. Big fights now. I'm talking about classics now. Bud Crawford's body language didn't sit right with me. Bud Crawford's post-fight interview with the ring announcer. I forgot this guy's name that interviewed him at the end of the fight. What's his name? My man, Jim Gray. Jim Gray. I didn't see the excitement. He was more focused on the doubters that doubted him to lose, which was cool. It's no problem. But I'm just saying, I didn't see the excitement. I didn't see it. I didn't feel it. I didn't read it in his nonverbal communications. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Even when he hugged Errol Spence, it was like one of them. All right. Let me give you an example. Remember Deontay Wilder fought Fury? Remember that fight? The first fight. You remember that fight? When Deontay Wilder fought Tyson Fury. Do y'all remember that fight? I'm talking about the first fight. When they was in a draw. Those guys kept hugging and kissing for like 10 minutes straight after that fight. It's a classic. Somebody in the chat earlier called me a detective from West Baltimore. Salute. But these are just observations. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. Even after Deontay Wilder dropped him, was blowing kisses and everything. Y'all remember that? He hit him with that left. Bow. Put him down. He started blowing kisses like night night. And Tyson Fury did beat the count. And he got up. But the bottom line is, even during that process, Deontay Wilder was still excited. Now, why am I bringing all of this up now? Remember when Crawford fought Sean Porter? Y'all remember that? In November of 2021? Y'all remember that? I don't have my snack supplements this evening. But you remember that fight? Crawford versus Porter? Remember how he reacted? I'm talking about natural reaction now. When he beat Sean Porter. Y'all remember that? He was stomping on the ground. I told y'all I got him. Told you I was going to beat Porter. Natural response. Natural reaction. What about Crawford's next fight? You know, when he fought David Avenesian. Let me take my glasses off of this. Remember when he fought David Avenesian? Knocked him out cold. A fighter that we all knew that he was going to beat. And you remember, Fareed, you remember when Terence Crawford knocked David Avenesian out cold? Y'all remember that? He was dancing around the ring like he was playing the guitar. Y'all remember that? A fighter who we all knew he can beat, he still naturally responded to winning that fight in dramatic fashion. Oh, but when he fought Errol Spence in that first fight, we got to keep it 100. I'm keeping it all the way 100, like the viewership says on your screen right now, 100. This is not a criticism, it's just an observation. This is not a critique, it's just an observation. He was excited when he fought Sean Porter. He was excited and dancing around the ring when he knocked out David Avenesian. And 7 months later, when he fought Errol Spence Jr., his body language and nonverbal communication didn't say the same to me. I didn't see that. I thought that was a little suspicious. That's all I'm saying.